Tell us a little bit more about silly things about fortune telling.
Well, important or fairly famous magicians would come in. So Eddie Fector would get out a deck of cards and look for an ace and say, we always have the important magicians sign the ace to put on the wall with the rest of them. So we'd hand them the pen and the card, and they would sign their name, and he'd take it back, and he'd look at it and say, oh, that's not who I thought it was, and he'd rip up the card and throw the pieces away. It was just as a gag for the ego of the magicians coming in. Can't remember the names of the many.
That's okay. What else?
Many magicians have got their cards torn up.
You know, a lot of things. I'm sure you forgot more things than magicians know today.
Well, one of my best known tricks was the big nut under the fedora, the fez, I should say. And I was using quite a big nut. So one day a fella came in and said, oh, I've got a great big nut you'd be interested in. So he brought in this huge nut that would barely fit under the fez.
Right.
And it was an old, dirty, beat-up nut. So, where'd you get that? Well, that's one that comes on the railroad when they bolt the machinery to carry it. Well, anyway, he brought this nut in. So I used that for a while. I had taken it home and cleaned it up pretty good, but it was still a big, rusty old nut. So one time a guy saw me do that, and he said, hey, that would look better if it was chrome-plated. So he says, I'll take it and chrome-plate it for you. So, okay. So I gave him a nut. When I went to go home that night, I went around, and there was the nut sitting on the bottom of the bar. He had forgotten to take it with him.
Uh-oh.
So fortunately, I didn't lose the nut. So a couple of days later, he came back and he said, oh, I forgot that nut. He said, give it to me now, and I'll have it chrome-plated. So I took a chance, gave it to him. A week or so later, he came back, and there was this beautiful chrome-plated nut. So I said, well, that's the nuts. He said, I almost lost it. He said, I put it in the trunk of the car. A few days later, I sold the car with the nut, in the trunk. He said I had a heck of a time hunting up that car that I had sold and rescuing the nut. So, anyway, finally, I got the chrome-plated nut, and for many years I did that as a conclusion of a rope trick, the nut appearing under the fez.